welcome to Getting Sports with Drunk. I'm your hostess, Cupcake the Riddler, and I'm joined by
Mock.
Sheen Washable.
Nope.
J-Mart.
And Kendall.
Kenny Sunkist.
Kenny Sunkist.
Kenny Sunkist.
Cool off with the refreshing Kenny.
Ooh,
Sunkist.
oh, that's good. Cool off with a refreshing Kenny.
Look how livid he is. You had to know that was coming.
Yeah, he doesn't seem happy. We're sad to report that the man of many names, Kyle K. Quick, Souls, all these different lovely names. He's ill.
Beefsteak, mayo.
Beefsteak. he's ill at the moment.
Viral.
So, yeah, we chose to not have him on air for the show. So our worst thoughts and wishes go out to him, and we hope for a slow recovery. Do you guys miss him? Do you feel the void?
I'm just ready to really praise the Ravens today and not listen to him complain.
Yeah,
Praise the
I'm
Ravens.
going to devote this show to how steroids are not good for the sporting world, and he won't be able to dispute it.
You watch. He'll call you halfway through the show and tell you, Jeff, I know you're talking a lot of shit about me right now, so I just like to interrupt.
Talk about Ed Reed and all the better safeties.
Ed Reed is the face of the safety position. Actually, our own Jeff Martin was nice enough to go out and purchase our beers for the starting lineup.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jeff, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, I got the Lagunitas Born Yesterday Pale Ale.
Also pronounced Lagunitas.
Lagunitas.
Every time I say that brewery's name, I'm convinced I say it wrong, so I just embrace it now.
Lagunitas.
Lagunitas.
It's from the One Hitter series.
Yeah, it's a good series. Do you know where it's out of?
Let's
It's out
see.
of two places.
Looks like California and Chicago.
Yeah, that's right.
That's cool.
Went to that brewery. It was awesome.
No, you
Yeah.
didn't. Kendall?
I did.
I have Wheelhound from Hanging Hills out of...
It's pronounced Wheelhound.
I also think you said his name wrong.
Yeah, I did, but I didn't think he would talk unless I said it that way.
Well, I was prepared to go entirely silent. Out of Hartford, so a local brew, and it's got a very nice dog. I'm not really good with breeds, or say species of dog.
And a beautiful specimen.
I don't know what kind of dog it is, but it's a
Let me take a look.
nice
It
dog.
looks like a basset hound.
I'm
Eagle
getting, I'm getting a combo. It's a mutt. That's what. It's a
mutt.
hound.
Kendall's just going to bark in the background.
It's one of those.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kenny.
From one of the train capitals of the world for Kendall over here, from Kansas City, Missouri, early riser coffee porter from Boulevard Brewing.
I have from California, I believe, from Stone, the Ruination Double IPA.
Excellent. Do you like it?
I don't know if I've had it before.
So that's a no?
I don't know yet.
Ugh.
Beer reviews come later.
Yeah, it's true. All right, toast to excellence. Our toast of excellence is less about an achievement this time. It's more about sadness.
Get well soon.
Yeah, get well soon. Toast of excellence out to Zach Miller, I guess former starting tight end of the Chicago Bears. If you didn't see, probably one of the more gross injuries we've seen in sports.
It was pretty rough.
Yeah, coming down with a touchdown catch, or what was thought to be a touchdown catch against
Should've
the
been.
Saints. Knee bent in the other direction, and was immediately rushed to the hospital where he had to undergo microscopic surgery.
Almost lost his leg.
Yeah, he had severe orthopedic damage throughout his whole knee and tore the artery from the top of his knee to the end of his knee. It's pretty rough.
It's a freak play too.
Yeah, it was
Get
like
well soon.
It wasn't necessarily a non-contact play, but it's not like there wasn't like
Just
wasn't
the
someone on
way
top
they
of him.
came
type
down,
thing.
It was
Yeah.
contested.
Yeah, it's tough. Thank you for that.
Terrible call though.
I appreciate it.
Oh, is that the word you're looking for?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the call though.
It's literally insult to injury.
We're not going to talk about the call because I have to do a gross shot because of the call. All right. So, toast to excellence to Zach Miller. We hope you get better soon and wish you the best. Got a lot of clinking there. Failed to open the beer.
I'm the only one with a can.
Yeah, and you're spilling everywhere as per
No,
usual.
no, I did a good job.
If you
this
notice
time.
the top of this, you're not the only one with a hound.
Yeah, their specialty is the hound. I have a cock on mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice porter cock.
Porter cock. Porter cock.
Now that's a species.
So, Kenny. Can we call you Kenny?
If you must, but I have a suggestion. With the exception of Kenny and any type of orange soda, how about we put a list of names, you guys can come up with it, and we put them online and people can vote for my nickname.
So wait, Kenny Sunkist can't be in the list?
No, no orange sodas. No orange sodas.
So wait,
Well,
so
Sunkist makes a
Sunkist
grape
makes-
soda
yeah,
also.
that's true.
So no
no
company
no
that makes
no
it.
product that makes
Like
any.
Kenny A&W.
A&W. Oh, gross.
It's the and that really throws up the flow.
So we could call you Kenny and A and W.
Kenny and A.
It really hits the ear well.
Yeah. So how is that a fair trade? If you guys want me to have a nickname, you guys come up with
Tell you what,
something.
we'll make the vote. If not a votes come in, we pick.
That's fine. That's fine. Maybe
Really put the pressure on the fans.
I don't know how much
For
traffic
you.
will generate from that, but we'll give it a shot.
All right. Better yet, we'll do this way. If there isn't enough votes to warrant a selection, we're gonna let Kyle pick.
Ooh.
We'll come up with them. The three of us will come up with them because he's not here, and then we'll let him pick. We won't let him know.
Good. Very good.
There was a couple we talked about when we were just hanging out, and they were okay. Like we talked about the Kenmore dryer.
I like the Kenmore
so
dryer,
I could
the
be
Machine washable and
the-
the Kenmore dryer.
the counterpart. I like Kentucky. It's kind of like a country singer
Hey, no
alias.
swang here. No swang.
We call you Kentucky Lightning.
Oh, look at that. That's a beer reference of sorts. So you guys come up with some names, and then we'll take it to a vote.
Now, seeing as how Machine Washable runs the social media aspect of the show, you really have all the power to put Kenny Sunkiss in the poll.
Then it's void.
No,
it's
no,
not
there's
void.
no,
They
there's no
can't-
voids.
There's no contract.
There's a contract.
people
it's a
want it.
verbal contract.
Get it?
Verbal
There'll be a
contract.
write-in vote.
I provided a fair trade. Okay. So my question is gonna
Well, you have to do
kind
the shot first. You got the,
Oh,
you got the
yeah,
question
yeah.
wrong last
You're just
time.
gonna blow by
Should've
that?
blown by the
Listen,
shot.
I-
Oh, Kyle's not here. I don't have to drink.
I was on my
Just because
soapbox.
Kyle outdrinks you doesn't mean that you don't have to drink.
I want the listeners and fans to know that is not true.
Yeah, it is true. Now, Kendall, I think Kyle, he posed the question right. It was about World Series strikeouts, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and we record, so we've moved our recording date to Wednesdays. So as of, we're really excited because right now we're looking forward to Game 7.
It's moments
Mm.
away.
Yeah, so make sure you tune in. We're gonna be doing a show about the postseason World Series recap, thoughts and disappointments and achievements and whatnot. And I think, not to delve into the show too much, but I think Kenny, I think you were the only one who predicted this World Series, right?
Yep.
Dodgers Astros when we
Yep.
did our show about way too early postseason predictions.
But here's the thing. He only picked Houston because they're in Houston.
But it doesn't. I still predicted correctly.
Can your nickname be Houston Sucks?
No.
Oh,
that's on the list.
Hold on. What about Kenny Gaddis?
Ooh.
Well, if they win, maybe we could do. But listen, that's your guys' pick.
all right,
Just
all right.
the contract is no companies that make orange soda.
No, but does that mean that they can't call you Kenny Coke? Because
I'll go with Kenny Coke.
But
What
Coke
about Kenny
owns
Cokes?
Fanta.
Ooh,
Fanta makes
Well,
orange
it's
soda.
got to be a parent company then. I'm going all the way. GE, Disney.
All right, so your trivia question.
Okay. So my trivia question has to do with today's topic.
What is it?
Riddler, would you like to give us the
Oh,
topic?
it's if you remember, 4 weeks ago we did our end of the first quarter podcast on the first 4 weeks of NFL football, and so now we're about halfway through the season.
We are,
So
yeah.
it's the halftime report. So Kendall, your question?
From Peyton Manning's MVP year in 2013, he threw 55 touchdowns. So I went and I looked to see how many touchdowns he threw by the halfway point during that season. So how many touchdowns do you think he threw by after the week 8 mark?
I'm gonna say that after week 8 he had only thrown 21.
I was going to say 23.
I'm going to say 15.
By week 8, he threw 29.
All right, so Jeff loses. So Jeff will be
Dun, dun.
But you're not alone. Souls will be joining you
Oh,
on the
yeah,
shot.
Souls,
That's right.
it doesn't matter. Sick, birth of a child, taking a phone
There
call
are
in the
no
middle
excuses.
of a podcast.
Traveling for work.
You're not here, you do a shot. So you'll be joining.
I'm actually surprised we don't skip more often, really.
I tell
Yeah.
you, I think Kyle's drank more of that private stock than anybody.
It's K Quick Souls. I've given him that nickname like 3 weeks ago, and he loves it. Like I call
K
him it
Quick
like,
Souls.
randomly. It's funny. I like to just do a quick anecdote, for the fans, so they can really get a better inside look at the K Quick Souls lifestyle. So last week after we recorded, Kendall and I were sitting on the couch editing the show, and Kyle was still hanging out. So he decided that he was going to start a random Pittsburgh Steelers franchise on my Madden and my PlayStation. So he plays it. He puts the headphones on so we can listen to the show and edit it. Kyle puts on this R&B station. Now, first of all, as we all know, Kyle is deaf. So the music is so loud through the headphones that we can't hear the laptop that's right next to us. He now is mouthing out Boys to Men songs and flipping off the TV because he's throwing like 17 interceptions. And it was just one of the greatest Kyle Souls moments.
It was a live look into what his life is all about, really.
Because the funny thing is like those of us who know Kyle, that's his exact like what he does alone at home.
He's in his happy place.
Yeah, he doesn't even like have. It's not like he listens to the music on his phone without his headphones. He still has headphones on, and he just sits there and he just Madden, is blaring at volume 43 on the TV, and he just pumps the R&B up so that it's louder.
Now, was the hand in the pants?
No, he's playing Madden, so 2 hands in the controller.
But he wanted it.
His mouth was in his pants.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Jeff, you excited? You get to do your gross shot. I get to do a gross shot right now.
That's true.
Bears lost to the Saints, which was unfortunate. Unfortunately, it's
oh no, you're getting the farmland animal.
That's true. It sucks because it's something we were able to really take advantage of, and really aren't able to take advantage of because we all like teams in different NFC divisions, or you get the Kendall and Kyle who like the AFC team. So I think next year, I think we all have to pick teams within the same division to root for, and just do shots all the time.
We do the NFC West. We have no stake in that, really.
Yeah. Mine's a ribeye.
I don't.
I gotta do a private shot
Wanna
now
do the
because I gotta
West.
do both. So,
Seattle.
Well, you're going for both.
well, I made a terrible joke about ribeye steak.
Gotcha.
So I have to do both here. So I'm gonna double fist these and just go one after the other. So you guys can chit chat. But I'm doing the gross shot. We substituted for the farmland animal. We'll call it the moo cow. It's funny because it's got a panther on the bottle, but we can't pronounce it, so we call it moo cow. And it's cognac. So I'm going to do some cognac, and then I'm going to do some private stock.
Cognac.
In defense of the moo cow, it's not gross. It's just they have a vanilla version, which is far superior in almost every single way.
I mean,
So-
mix it with the private stock.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so it's
probably in the private stock
it
for all
might
we know.
be. It might be.
Could actually be a
Might have
nice
made the-
refresher, really.
Might have made
No,
the
it's
move.
not. You can tell.
Mouth is just on
It's
fire.
like, Paul does not look super happy about what just happened.
Well, the problem is I did the asshole version of this. I did the private stock after the $45 cognac.
Big mistake.
No, speak for yourself. You don't know what's in that private stock. There could be a $300 scotch in there. There isn't, but there could be. So Kyle's not here, so I guess I'll do the pick'em updates. So shout out to Kyle. I think Kyle's the first person in 8 weeks of doing the pick'ems. He had a perfect record last week, 13 for 13. He was the only person on the show to pick Baltimore to beat Miami, and really looking back, we were all dumb to think Matt Moore could have got this done. Doesn't matter how bad the Ravens are. It was we were all dumb. We were dumb people. With that, the perfect record, Souls has not moved alone into first place, but he is now tied for first. Jumped from third to first. Souls and I are sitting at 69 and 35.
Yeah, that kid stinks.
In third place, we have Machine Washable, a solid 64 and 40. Kendall in fourth at 61 and 40.
And
Or that's not
who's
right.
in
That can't be true.
last?
61 and 43, I think. And then Jeff Martin, our fearless last place contestant at 51 and 42. Big week for him though. He jumped a decade. He's in the 50s now, and he's really making the gap between the 500 mark bigger. So good for him.
He'll get
I
there.
got Stev beat.
Yeah, I don't know. Steph had a pretty good week.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think he's got the highest winning percentage out of all of us.
Well, no, Kyle, he's got 1,000% last week in 1 week. I mean, we have to compare
No,
it to
you're
the
right, you're
weeks. Come on, what are you thinking?
oh now.
I don't
Hold
think.
on now. So, halftime report. So I'm not sure, but I think Carrie Underwood's going to be on at some point. She's going to be
Yeah,
singing our
she's,
song.
she's getting ready.
Yeah, she's putting on her outfit, which is nude,
She's singing our song.
which is just the national anthem.
What a woman.
So I thought you were talking about our intro, but it's just an instrumental.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
she could make the noises, I guess.
So we'll start off with the trade deadline was today, I believe, right? Or was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Yesterday. So we had some pretty decent trades kind of going
Nah,
down
they
to
weren't
the
that
wire.
interesting.
As per usual, the Patriots always making their trade deadline move. They always seem to be moving somebody, and this time it was Jimmy Garoppolo.
Which was really weird.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo to the San Francisco 49ers for a second-round pick.
Real
Now,
weird
here's the
trade.
thing. I don't think it's a weird trade. I think
it's a
they did the
genius
right
move.
thing because yes, they could have gotten a first-round pick from Cleveland in the offseason.
Multiple. But just this past offseason, they could have had multiple first-round picks.
Right, but at the same time, you have to keep in mind they didn't have a backup, so they would have had to go out and sign a backup.
Well, they still had Brissett.
Well, the thing is though, I don't think they had any intentions of hanging on to Brissett. They were shopping Brissett, so they have, they have Garoppolo. Like, now is kind of the perfect time to trade him because I mean he knows the system. He's a perfect person to go up if you need security. Tom Brady's playing great. He's a great quarterback, but he's 40. I mean, injuries happen, and you need to have that blanket. Now they have to go out and get a quarterback. They're lucky enough to have Hoyer on the market, who the 49ers released, who knows the system.
Yeah.
I believe that's finalized.
Did they sign him?
Yeah, they
I
signed
haven't
him.
checked into it.
Actually, the Packers tried to swoop in on him, is what I read too.
Yeah.
But
But I mean,
he's
he
a
knows
Patriot.
he knows the New England system. He's won in New England. He's won games in New England. So I think
He's
it was
a
the
very
right
serviceable
because
backup.
you got to keep in mind too. Really, they didn't really get a second round pick. They're looking at it's either going to be the first or second pick in the second round of the draft because it's a battle between the Browns and the 49ers for who's going to be the worst team in football. And it really, the Browns, whenever they win a game, they always weasel some weird victory out of the division. For the 49ers, I mean, right, like this week might be their only opportunity, although they do play the Bears. So
It wasn't weird that they traded. It was just a weird timing thing. I don't know why, especially someone like Belichick who stockpiles picks, that he didn't take the multiple first rounders and go that route. It was just odd to me.
Well, I think the thing was they held on to Garoppolo for fear of maybe a Brady
I think they
injury.
were kind
and
of
whatnot.
gauging to see how
And,
Brady. would
so
be.
now knowing because they didn't trade him until Hoyer was released. Hoyer had been released before they got Garoppolo. So
It was almost simultaneous.
but I'm pretty sure Hoyer was released first technically. So I mean, they knew they were getting Hoyer out of the deal. It might have been like a, hey, we'll trade you Garoppolo, but you have to release Hoyer type thing, like like one of those unwritten things you can't really trade.
Yeah.
Instead of because now they can just sign him to a minimum contract. They don't have to give him whatever the 49ers were paying him. But the other thing too is like they had to trade him now because if they didn't trade him now, they probably never would have been able to.
Oh no, that's what I mean. It just seemed that they could have gotten a lot more if they traded him in the offseason. I mean, I know it's going to work out for New England. They're going to draft someone.
Well, I think that's their thought process. They just they don't need it. They're not worried.
No, just wait till the Colts give up on Andrew Luck.
I'm waiting for Garoppolo to join the list of Patriots backups that play horrible on other teams.
Well, it's the past has not been a good representation of him. So
No.
you're probably right. We'll see.
We got the big one too in the Jeff's division, NFC South. Jeff, want to walk us through that one?
No.
Okay. But you're happy about it.
I am. I'm happy. Kelvin Benjamin. I wouldn't even say star receiver because he's been kind of a non-factor. For
Star
the
potential.
Panthers. Star potential for sure. Traded him over to the Bills. Really bolsters the Bills up, though, definitely. If he can perform there, I think he'll be a good fit. Tyrod Taylor's been playing. I mean, I'd say he's playing good. He's not putting up huge numbers, but that's because he doesn't have that weapon. With Benjamin, we might see some more yards.
Yeah, I think it's really good for them.
Kind of weird for the Panthers to make that move. But
I thought so too.
But it is true, though. He hasn't really performed well. And especially in Olsen's absence, you'd think he'd be the guy to step up.
Well, we kind of talked about it before we started recording, too. Benjamin's just not the right fit for a Cam Newton ran offense. Cam Newton needs, like Greg Olsen runs, like, either deep routes or short routes, whereas, like, Benjamin is a route runner. So he runs, like, the Brandon Marshall-esque routes type thing. He's not like an Odell Beckham Jr. who beats you with his speed over the middle type of guy. So it's like Cam Newton, a quarterback who's so mobile and scrambles a lot and often creates his own offense. A really good route running receiver isn't really his kind of thing. Like Cam Newton would probably destroy every passing record in the book if he had like Deshaun Jackson and like Ted Ginn, like on the same team, because they would just go down the field, and if anything, all it does is opens up the middle of the field for him to take off.
Yeah,
He averages, and we have to double check this, but between like 30 and 40 yards rushing every game he plays in. It's ridiculous.
I think it's tough too because the last 2 seasons are tough to judge Benjamin because Cam hasn't played super well. He had his MVP season, he looked great, and then last year he kind of fell off, and this year he doesn't look like he did.
Yeah,
He's
very up and down.
I think he'll do good with Buffalo, though, because Taylor doesn't take a lot of big risks. He doesn't turn the ball over. I mean, he's got a great running game there, too.
Yeah.
I think he could mesh well there.
I'm really shocked to find out that T.Y. Hilton didn't go anywhere. That was probably
Yeah.
my biggest takeaway from the trade deadline was not the trades that happened, but that T.Y. Hilton hasn't gone anywhere. I mean, I know that when he's with Andrew Luck, it's like a really lights out combo, but he's not happy with the way things are happening in Indianapolis. I mean, he's voiced it. He's not happy with, forget Andrew Luck, but he's not happy with the defense. He's not happy with, it's just an aging team in all the wrong areas, and it's getting youthful in the areas where there's no mentorship. And so I'm kind of surprised because a team, that really for a little while seems like it's going to be in a division that's continuously up for grabs, could have gotten a lot for somebody of T.Y. Hilton's caliber.
Yeah.
I saw the Colts were looking to move Moncrief, which the same thing you were saying I thought was kind of weird. That why hold on to Hilton? You can get a king's ransom for him. A contending team would have given up almost anything for him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, imagine the Bills don't get Benjamin and they trade, better, higher picks or whatever for T.Y. Hilton. I mean, T.Y. Hilton would be a great option in Buffalo for Tyrod Taylor because he can sling the ball and he's mobile, but, he's pass first.
About Washington, too.
Yeah,
They've been struggling with their receivers.
Yeah,
They
well,
didn't
he would
do
have been great
anything.
in Washington. There's plenty of teams that probably would have been willing to.
Absolutely.
But, it's one of those things, the Colts said, we'll trade Hilton for the right price. And a lot of times when teams say that, it means it's not the right price. It's the steal price. Like,
Yeah.
we'll trade you Hilton, but
That's
we
what
want.
we do at the car dealership.
Yeah, we want 3 first-round picks. They want
Call
too
for
much.
price.
Wheeling and dealing.
I'm surprised too. Like you guys are naming teams. Like the Eagles are looking to load up. Jeffrey's there, but he's only signed for 1 year. Hilton could have been, more of a long-term picture for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the
I
Eagles.
think they trust, I'm going to butcher his name, Nelson Aguilar, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's definitely come into his own. He was pretty bad the last 2 seasons.
but you got to see like a lot of the teams with these high-powered offense have the tandem.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I think the Eagles. You talk about the Eagles loading up, and I think the Eagles kind of have figured Carson Wentz. He's been throwing the ball all over the field, so people are catching it. It might not be Alshon Jeffrey being the star that he's capable of being, but he's making an impact. He had a good
absolutely,
game. He had a good couple games this season,
absolutely.
and once they get to the red zone, it's pretty
Zach
much
Ertz is playing out of
it's
his
pretty much
mind,
lights
too.
out for Zach Ertz. So I think they did the right move in bolstering up their team because they went out and got Jay Ajayi, who's a running back that can help them in those situations. Because you look at it, I mean, Smallwood's not really getting the job done with Sproles out for the season and probably ending his career.
Damn.
It's tough, when you have. They're having success, but you can only have so much success when you have to throw the ball in 3 downs.
And Blunt is also very one-dimensional. He just runs straight and runs over people.
He's a power back. He's really
Exactly.
only an end zone threat.
And I mean, Ajayi I don't think is like one of the top-end elite running backs, but that was such a steal of a trade. Any team would have made that. Any team would have made that trade. You give up a 4th-round pick for a running back that just came off a Pro Bowl year. That's like a no-brainer. I think that the Eagles just stole it.
Power back, one-dimensional.
Yeah, I
Has
know this
Jerome
gets
Bettis ever hurdled over defenders?
He has.
As a power back.
He has.
Would you call him one-dimensional?
LeGarrette Blunt's hurdled over people too, though.
That's what I'm saying.
I think Jerome Bettis is going to be the guy to lower his shoulder rather than jump over. Not to say he hasn't done it, but he's the he's the big guy. He's not going to
That was also when that was
Hey,
The
I'm
run-
just
more
saying.
different NFL, and we can't crown a guy for having one good season, and I won't
Well,
do it.
But I don't know. But the thing is like LeGarrette Blunt. I'm not saying that he's not traditionally a red zone guy, power back type 3rd down guy. But I mean, in his time in the NFL, he's had 2,000-yard seasons, and you got to keep in mind the majority of his time is
suspension.
well. He's also played, a good chunk of his career in New England, a team that very regularly features dual backs, if not triple backs, in a game. And in some of those seasons, he still got over the 700 mark. I mean, he was a 1,000-yard rusher in his first year in the league. He was just under 800 in his second year in the league. I mean, it's just, yes, he has plenty of years where he does have only, we'll call it 200 to 300 yards. There's 3 or 4 of them, but I don't know if he's just considered a power back. I don't know. That's a good argument to have.
Asshole, yes.
Yeah,
But I give him the credit where it's due.
he is talent. I don't know. He relies too much like in the red zone. If he's like the only, the 3-down back, he doesn't play as well. I think Ajayi will outperform him.
No, I won't
in
dispute that.
in that sense.
I don't think that it's not he can't be a 3-down back, because he can be a 3-down back. He just has to be. He is a player that has to fit a specific system. New England fit him perfectly. He wasn't just a power back in New England. I mean, he did 2 years in New England where he rushed for over 800 yards.
Well, he's coming off
And-
18 touchdowns too. So picture him now with Ajayi there. Ajayi takes most of the snaps. Maybe he comes in the red zone fresh. It's going to be a lot of touchdowns
Well,
there.
that's what I mean. Like Ajayi can probably, I think, can catch better out of the back. Blunt isn't like a receiving running back, which
Just
is.
receives those fines and suspensions.
But I mean, that's such a big deal now in the NFL, where
Yeah.
these running backs, are catching the ball more. You look at like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson; they're catching, 10 passes a game.
Catching the IR. I'll just keep his spot a little
Yikes!
bit.
But Blunt can't do that. I think Ajayi will be able to step in. He'll be able to take, run routes out of the backfield and be able to run the ball.
So I said, dude, LeGarrette Blount's on pace for 800 yards this season, which I mean, like, I know we've come so accustomed to like looking at players that reach the 1,000-yard mark, but like in a primarily passing world where he's not a receiving back, I mean, 800 yards is not just like a
No,
a
that's
power
what I
back
mean.
move.
Like,
I don't think he's just a power back.
He has talent, but
He definitely is a power back who is a red zone threat, but I don't think that's his only serviceable option.
I think he's very quick on his feet. For
You don't get
bigger
1,000
back.
yards only rushing in the end zone. Doesn't happen.
Well, he was a featured back, and like I mean, in order to have that many yards, you got to be having a lot of carries. Or give him, 2-back system or not. If you're giving the ball, if he's getting, 20 touches a game, he's gonna rack up yards. It's how it is, So I'd like to look into that to see how many carries he was getting during that period of time, because I mean I could rush for 1,000 yards on 500 carries.
He rushed
Great.
for last year. He rushed for 100 yards or 1,000 yards on 290 carries.
So that's kind of in the wheelhouse of the normal.
I mean, he averaged 4 yards a carry. That's not what a power back does. I'm just saying. I get what you're saying. 90% of the time, he's your third down back red zone threat. But 1,000 yards, even if it's only twice, I mean, he hasn't played that long.
A lot of it is on him. Why people wouldn't think that he's more than just a power back. I mean, he's had horrible on-field issues, off-field issues. He's just.
It's just Kenny Sunkist hating the Patriots. That's what
No,
it is.
I see
Well, y'all
him,
remember he also walked out on the Steelers too. So
Yeah.
probably.
I see him as almost like a Brandon Jacobs. He needs that tandem, when he's just the guy that's just got to get you the few yards, in the red zone. He's great at that. There's no denying that. But I don't think he's a good standalone featured running back.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, moving on, because we're just going to argue about this the whole show. All right, so we're at the halfway point of the season. We talked about, hot and not teams, through the first 4 weeks. So some teams have continued that. Some teams have fallen off. We've got teams that are starting to get hot. So right now, teams, who's hot and who's not? Mock, who's hot?
The Eagles. I mean, coming into the season, a lot of people were kind of sleeping on the Eagles, didn't think they were going to do too much, and right now they're the best team in the NFL. They have the best record. They look great. I
They're
mean,
flying high.
oh God, Wentz is playing like an MVP quarterback right now. It's as a Giants fan, it's hard to watch, but it's also fun to watch.
All right, Jeff, who do you have that's not right now? Who's not?
I don't mean this to hurt you, but the Giants are not.
Listen, we covered this at the quarter point.
We could just keep covering it, so I'm not going to ramble too much. But they had really high expectations.
Big time.
Their defense hasn't played horrible, but they just can't put it together at all. Injuries. It's just a bad year to forget about.
All right, Kendall, who's hot?
I think the Chiefs are still hot. They've dropped 2 games in a row, but the defense is still playing phenomenal. They forced turnovers. Smith still yet to throw an interception.
Yeah, his wide receiver has more picks than he does.
Yeah.
It's true.
He only has 1 turnover. He fumbled the ball, but I mean, playing Alex Smith football, playing Chiefs football, still a hot team despite the 2 losses in a row.
The Chiefs only have 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. They only have 2 turnovers, and one of them came on the first play of the season. And then Kareem
I
Hunt
think
decided
that
he was
fueled
gonna-
him. He was like,
Yeah.
"Yep,
Did
that's
he
not
lose
good."
that fumble though?
He
did.
fumbled on his
Yeah.
first run against the Patriots.
So then they have 3 turnovers.
No, I think they only. Oh yeah, 3
Oh,
turnovers because of the pick. Yeah,
yeah.
Hill threw a pick.
yeah. Way to really emphasize that in there. That's like a stab at Kyle for not being here. His fantasy guy. Look at Machine Washable, just
What do you mean?
dumping loads.
Paul, who's a not hot team?
I'm gonna have to go ahead and say the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Again, kind of rolling off what Jeff said. Injury really plays the majority of the part in this, but I still don't know that they would be considered hot even with Rodgers. Great quarterback, don't get me wrong, MVP candidate every year, but the receivers they're not aging because Jordy Nelson's the only one that's on the older side. But the receivers, to me, like Adams is the only one that's really looked as good this year as he has last year. Martellus Bennett has been nothing but a disappointment on that offense. The offensive line has struggled throughout the whole season with or without Rodgers. They have pretty much no run game going on for them, and their defense is not what it used to be. That's the real disappointment on that Packers team is that the defense. It's Aaron Rodgers is going to look like an MVP type quarterback every single season when you consider that he's going to be playing either behind or to at least keep with their opponents if their defense is going to let up. So
you got to be loving that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hundley. Big fan of him. As long as he keeps losing, that's all that matters to me. Go Lions! So we'll do one more kind of around the horn on the team. So we'll reverse it this time. Kendall, who's not hot?
For me, Washington Redskins. I think there was a lot of hype for them to, possibly battle the Cowboys. But Kirk Cousins really has no one to throw to. They thought Pryor was going to step up coming off on a 1,000-yard season.
They don't even use him. They don't even use him. It was such a waste.
But, Cousins, he's holding on to the ball too long. He's taking needless sacks. They're just in the defense.
They keep giving the ball to Rob Kelly.
Yeah, they can't.
Instead of their stud and Thompson.
Yeah, they should be playing a lot better than they are, and they're just going nowhere quick.
Jeff,
it's true.
Who's hot?
Who dat?
Knew this was coming.
Oh yeah,
he set him up for it.
They're coming off 5 straight wins. The Saints, for those of you that don't follow the Who Dat train. I'm just gonna keep this bottle near me.
God, it's almost empty.
You should get one of your kids' nipples and throw it on there.
Yeah, might as well. So, you look at the Saints, they're always known for putting points up. They've been more of a managing team, I'd say, this year. And our defense has stepped up at numerous occasions. They're getting turnovers, they're scoring touchdowns. It's just all coming together, and I hope to keep that going.
It's funny because, after, the first couple weeks, everyone's saying, they had the worst passing defense in the league. Everyone, in fantasy, play everybody against the Saints, and now you got to look and you're like, they're actually playing really well.
And I always say, back in the Super Bowl, it's not that we had that great of a defense, but we got turnovers.
They
made aggressive plays,
turnovers,
and we scored more than they did. And that's what we're doing this year. That's hopefully what we keep doing.
Mock, who's not
hot? For me, it's the Atlanta Falcons. They're coming off...
What a day for me.
They're coming off, a Super Bowl season last year. This year, they just don't look like a complete team. I don't know. Julio Jones, I don't think, has a touchdown yet.
He has one.
Does he have one?
Yep, he had one on Monday Night Football against the Patriots.
But, they just don't look like a Super Bowl caliber team.
Correction, Sunday Night Football.
All right.
Saved yourself on the private side.
Saved myself from the Souls move.
But, yeah, the Super Bowl hangover, a lot of teams get that, but everyone was expecting Matt Ryan to keep rolling, everyone keep going, and they just don't look intimidating like they did last year.
All right. Fair. That's fair.
Ball. Who's hot?
Now, I'd like to double dip if that's possible.
Absolutely.
Are you going to say the Packers?
No.
They're
You've
both
earned
great
yourself
and
some
terrible.
private stock, sir. Take the private stock. You're terrible that you would even mention that. I'm going to do 2 teams. And I'm going to win a lot of love from the other side of the table on this one. The Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills are, sitting at, I think, 5-2 because they've had their bye. They're a half game out on the Patriots. They got a big game this week against a division opponent. They win. They're still tied with the Patriots for first, which is who the hell thought Buffalo was doing that. Little fun fact for you on this one, too. Their leading receiver is LaShawn McCoy, who has 18 more receptions than the next guy on the list, who is Charles Clay, who hasn't played in 2 weeks. So active-wise, receiving or tight end-wise, their leading receiver is Jordan Matthews with 15 receptions for 193 yards at the halfway point of the season. And their touchdown leader is Andre Holmes, who only caught 11 passes and has 3 touchdowns.
So did Kelvin Benjamin just become their leading receiver?
So let's throw this into the mix real quick. They have nobody, but they're winning. Their defense is playing great, but they're not playing shutout football. They're not creating, they're creating the most turnovers. I think they have, as of right now, last time I checked, it was a plus 13 in the turnover differential, which is insane at the halfway point of the season.
Micah Hyde, right? That's the, I believe.
Yeah.
He's on the Bills now?
But they're not playing, they're not playing defense that's going to absolutely win them games. It's keeping them in them and helping them win.
Big
But
turnovers, too.
they're not committing offensive turnovers, which is huge, and they've got a stud at running back, and Tyrod Taylor is playing good football, even if he's not showing it statistical-wise. Same concept, we're going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Much like Jeff talked about with the Saints, people are like writing them off a defense, blah, 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 blah. Steelers' defense is 100% the reason that they're 5-2. Ben Roethlisberger has been stagnant. The offense as a whole has been somewhat stagnant. I mean, Brown's been playing somewhat out of his mind, but it's also because until, the recent exposure of this Juju Smith kid, he's been the only person he's throwing it to. Bell hasn't looked like Bell. I mean, he's playing good, but he's not playing Le'Veon Bell style football.
They're giving a lot of carries.
Yeah,
That's why he's getting all the yards.
Yeah.
He's running the ball 35 times a game.
Right, but their defense is playing fantastic, and maybe it has something to do with the touchdown celebrations. I don't know, but you look at the stats offensively for Ben Roethlisberger. You be an unfortunate person like myself to own him in fantasy football. You look at Le'Veon Bell's totals and whatnot. You don't see them at 5-2 in my book, and they're sitting there pretty atop the AFC North, looking like they're going to pretty much run away
in the
with
conference too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 3-0,
Not a bad
3-0,
It's funny
2-0
because
or 3-0. You play the Bengals?
No. Yes, we play the
Okay.
Bengals. Yep.
it's funny because last season the Steelers secondary was kind of bad. Like they were getting thrown on a lot.
They were bad. They weren't
They-
kind of bad.
they were,
They're playing good.
but I mean now they brought in Joe Hayden. I don't
Great
know. I don't know any other corners if they brought him in.
Well,
I
let
mean,
me
Kendall
put this
would know.
into perspective.
All right.
William Gay is now like our fourth corner on the depth chart, which is a guy.
He plays the nickel now, no? Or
Yeah,
here and there, he'll slot
he's
in.
older, so they
Yeah.
kind of just been wherever.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think Kendall can attest to it. I think the reason the secondary is not—they're not creating like a plethora of interceptions or anything like that or
They've
forced
been
fumbles.
good coverage,
You know
though,
what
from
they're doing,
I've seen.
and coverage too. But besides the thing, and Kendall's a big advocate, they're tackling, which is
Yes.
something
Yeah.
the Steelers
Yeah.
secondary has never done. They don't. Palomalu forever was pretty much, and Ike Taylor were like the only surefire tacklers on those teams. Ryan Clark would tackle well, but it took him 10 years to get to you. So they're tackling, which is huge because the Steelers, they were burned on big plays all the time. They'd miss tackles and somebody would rip off a 62-yard receiving touchdown. Now, sure, they're letting up on 24-yard passes, but they're not playing aggressive. They're just tackling the player down, and then they're stuffing the run.
They're playing, and their defense looks fast.
Yeah.
Like they're not getting burned. They're right with everybody. They look
Finally,
good.
the defense is kind of young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
It seems like they only have to rush 4 or 5 guys,
Well, it's funny.
and they
Like
still get pressure on every quarterback they faced.
James Harrison doesn't even play every game.
no,
Like he's healthy, scratched a lot, and when he plays, then he gets like 3-4 sacks.
they rest him, which I think is great. I know you guys. I know Paul wish he was playing more, but
Yeah.
I
Debo.
I love seeing him out there.
But he's only getting a few snaps, and he's rested and he's ready. He's just
He'll be
tearing
good
through
for
the
the
line.
playoffs.
Yeah. It's
Debo.
Nebo, we should get some gear. You guys got to check out his
His Instagram.
Instagram. Insane.
Yeah, in the off season, it's all working out. It's kind of softened down from the working out. Now it's a lot of advertising for Debo gear, but you can win like tickets and stuff by advertising. And the Debo gear is great because it's just his face pretty much, and just says Debo.
And what a scary face it is.
Oh, he's frightening.
I'll never forget. I forgot who they played the game we went to, and he was just alone in the tunnel for that moment.
That was the Ravens.
Was it the Ravens?
No,
No, I think it was the Giants.
Yeah,
I was frightened.
yeah.
I was watching
I
the
was
Giants.
scared sitting in the nosebleeds on the other end of the stadium. A grown man, shat himself that lone Sunday afternoon. So, teams get hot, teams, cool off, but sometimes you have a great team that has players that don't play well necessarily. Buffalo, no outstandish people, but sometimes you have teams that don't play well that have a player that really sticks out. So we'll kind of go around the horn, same type of deal. So, Mock, can you name a player who's hot?
I mean, the first player I thought of is playing on a good team, and it's Carson Wentz. Right now, I think he's the front runner to be this year's MVP. He looks unbelievable. In the pocket, he's just like poised. He can move. He's making throws. He's not really turning the ball over. He's playing great.
Jeff, who's not?
Who's not? Well, we touched on it earlier, but Martellus Bennett is not. You thought, given Aaron Rodgers and his success passing the ball to a variety of different receiving options, you'd think he would have put good numbers up, but he's been stagnant all year, just dropping passes, not really getting involved the right way. Just a no-show for the most part.
I think it's playing in the NFC North. I think that's what he didn't do well for the Bears. He didn't do well.
Yeah.
He's not doing well for the Packers. Played great when he was
He's
in
got
Dallas.
talent,
Played
just
great in the Giants.
not
Played
the right
great in New
system, I
England.
guess.
Wish the Giants never got rid of him.
So Kendall, who's hot?
Who's hot? And I'm gonna get some laughs on this, but I'm gonna give it to Cameron Brate. He's getting roughly 3 to 4 receptions a game, and a lot of touchdowns. He's getting in the end zone. He's like the number one guy they're looking for, and he reels them in. And Tampa Bay has been playing extremely well, but he's a big reason for why they've won games. So.
Oh yeah. Surprised Paul's doing I'm surprised you didn't go with Juju Smith-Schuster there.
I could have went that route, but I'm a big Brate guy. Paul?
I almost had to do a shot. I stopped myself from saying something that would have given me a shot.
Just say it.
I was just gonna say he's Brate.
There it is.
Yeah, but you guys are jealous that you didn't think of that.
That might be a shirt. We should look that up.
It'll be. You guys heard of 500
We
level?
can reach out to his Twitter.
Have you guys heard of 500 level clothing? You see them on Instagram once in a while. They do those penny tee type shirts, and you see players, a lot of players wear them because they make shirts, and players will go out and buy their own shirts and stuff because they just love them, and they have some of them have funny stuff, or whatever. But like Antonio Brown, they made one last year that had Brown doing the twerking in the end zone, and it just said TD celebration on it or something like that. It's interesting. It's interesting. So this private stock's gonna be fantastic.
So, Paul, when you come back from that delicious shot, do you have a player that's not hot?
Yeah, me right now. That was rough. Player who's not hot. It's funny. I'm gonna probably it's tough. I want to say Mitch Trubisky. That's who I want to say, but I'm not going to.
It's early. It's early yet.
And the reason I'm not going to is because this past game against the Saints was the first time they really let him open up, and he threw 30 pass attempts. But I'm gonna go ahead and he's not hot for a reason. It's Trevor Siemian. He lost his starting job as of today, I believe. They announced that Brock Osweiler will be starting their Week 8 matchup. But he started off the season fantastic, and then just took the biggest dive into the deep end with cinder blocks attached to both feet. He is missing throws. He looks scared in the pocket, and there's times where he has almost no rush on him, and he's throwing the ball 5 yards to the left of his receiver. He's not looking good, and it's he lost his starting job. And honestly, I don't think it's coming back, because if Osweiler fails to show that he can be the guy, then it's time to bring Paxton Lynch in for the long haul.
Well, it was probably going to be Lynch as the start, but he's hurt right now.
He's got a shoulder?
Yeah, he's still not able to play. I think that's the only reason why Brock is playing.
He's cleared to play. He's cleared to play. I think he's suiting up this week. I think he's going to be the backup to Osweiler.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. So we'll reverse it again. So Kendall, who's not hot?
Not hot. I'm going to probably stick with the Broncos route. I'm going to go with Demaryius Thomas. It's tough to call who's the number one there, if it's him or Sanders. I think.
Well, it's him now because Sanders is hurt, but
right, and he's a guy that was taking over games 2 or 3 years ago, and we haven't seen that. And let this year, it's the same. And I think there's one person that Simeon is under a lot of pressure, but he's not getting open either. So it's just not hot.
Jeff, who's hot?
Well, how about Paul Richardson? Seattle Seahawks. I mean, they kind of don't. I'd say Doug Baldwin's their go-to guy. They don't have that great of a receiving core on paper, but if you really look at Paul Richardson, he's got 5 touchdowns on 22 receptions.
50% of the receiving core every year is undrafted free agents.
He's just been making big plays. He's averaging a ton of yards per game. Let me check. Yeah, 374 yards on 22 catches. That's pretty insane.
Wow.
And as we saw, if you watch the Houston game, where Russell Wilson looked pretty locked in, he was targeted a lot. He picked up a couple 20-yard receptions.
Yeah, he played good.
And he's someone to look out for.
Yeah. So, Mark, who's not hot?
Terrell Pryor. I mean, this guy, with the Browns last year, had 1,000 yards receiving. He looked great in Cleveland.
Remember when he was a quarterback?
Yeah. But, I mean, Washington brought him in. Now you got Kirk Cousins, who likes to throw the ball. Pretty accurate passer. You have Terrell Pryor, who showed he was a good receiver with no quarterback, and they don't even use him. He gets maybe a target a game. It's just horrible. It was just a waste season for him. I hope wherever he goes, as long as it's not like the Patriots, he plays well next year.
Ooh, he could be the next quarterback there.
Backup quarterback, starting wide receiver.
They like that. They already have that in Edelman, though.
Back some like 1950s. Yeah, but see, but Pryor's could be an actual backup quarterback, whereas like Edelman's just an emergency quarterback, and he's not really doing much at home this season, so that could be a good pickup.
It could be.
I'm gonna go ahead and do my hot. It's gonna hurt me to say it, but I'm gonna go ahead and say Jerick McKinnon for the Minnesota Vikings. Ever since he got that starting job, he's pretty much just been the guy. He looked really good the past few weeks. There was a lot of speculation as to what was going to happen after Cook went down. They were going to do the split carries between Murray and McKinnon came out in the first game of that and absolutely blew the doors open and has kind of been running lights out ever since.
He kind of became the running back they've been waiting for him to be.
Yeah, I mean, this past week they played the Browns in London. I think he only finished like in the 50s for rushing yards, but he tacked on 75 yards receiving. And in the NFL these days, that's what a running back does for you. So
yeah. He had a touchdown too, didn't he?
Yeah, but I don't really count touchdowns to define a successful running back.
Oh no, I'm just saying he did that.
Shut
and he
it,
also
Mock.
had a touchdown.
Shut it. You're done. All right, so we're gonna go around the horn again one time. Fantasy teams. We all have them on your fantasy team. Over the past 4 weeks, the second quarter of the season, who's been a fantasy stud that's broken out for you?
For me, Doug Baldwin. He's put together a couple games. I'm never good with the points on the top of my head, like, what the reception's worth and whatnot, but he's given me in the upwards of like 17 points a game, so it's been my guy.
I think we all know who Jeff's is.
Yeah, I mean, I started the season with Drew Brees, my favorite quarterback, traded him because Deshaun Watson has just took over the scene as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he's tied for the most touchdowns. He pretty much averages like 40 points fantasy-wise a week. He gives you at least 50 yards on the ground. He's throwing a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards.
Yeah, he's out there slinging.
He's doing good work.
My fantasy stud, at least over the last few weeks, has been Marvin Jones. Little weak at receiver this year, but I mean, the last couple weeks he's put up at least 13. I think this past week he went over 100 yards, and he's been looking good.
Guy can sing too.
He's been looking good, especially Golden Tate's been hurt, so he's been the guy in Detroit, and Stafford loves to throw it, so he's been pretty good for me.
You not Terrell Pryor?
No, Terrell Pryor. That's gonna sting for a while.
Mine's Philadelphia's defense. Not in our friend league that we do, but in a different league I'm in. I picked up Philadelphia's defense after week 4, just for matchup purposes, and they've scored me like 38 points over the course of 4 weeks, which is that's way more than you can ask for from a defense to average close to 10 points a week. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that route. I mean, like Jeff last week got really lucky with the Ravens defense, but that's kind of how it goes, though. It's like you just get lucky week to week, unless there's very few defenses worth hanging on to all week long and not dropping on a bye week. You think of teams like Seattle and Houston when they're healthy, but for the most part, kickers and
defense
they're
expendable.
You kind of just whatever. And so Philadelphia Eagles defense, thumbs up from me. So. Mock kind of touched on it earlier with his idea, so we'll start off with him. But we're halfway through the season. It's never too early to start thinking about MVP candidates based off play. A lot of things can change. If we did this at the 4-week mark, think names like Trevor Siemian could have very well been in contention. He was playing pretty well, but not the case now. So at the halfway point, who's your early MVP candidate?
As a Giants fan, it hurts, but it's Carson Wentz. I don't even think there's anyone. I mean, Deshaun Watson can make a case, but I think Wentz is playing lights out football.
Wentz is my guy as well. Played very well.
Can't do that. He picked Wentz. You got to pick somebody else.
I mean, I just don't. I'd have to look and find somebody that I feel.
Cameron Brate.
That would be something.
A tight end for MVP?
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
I don't think so. We have to look that up. But to
Jeff?
my knowledge, no.
I think It's so tough because I want to sit here and say Carson Wentz, but I'm going to have to go. Oh, man. I'm blanking on his name.
Good.
That's how valuable he is.
DeMar DeRozan?
DeMar DeRozan, yes. No,
What are we
Back to
talking?
me for a
Team, position? What do we got? Let's help you out.
This beer's really doing
No,
me in.
we're here for you to the end.
Kareem Hunt, there we go.
Oh,
I
okay.
kept struggling with, I was saying Dalvin in my head. I was like, no, that's the other guy. I mean, he's killing it both receiving-wise, running-wise, and I think if the Chiefs continue to lose, maybe he falls out of that, but I think he's going to keep producing, and I think he's got a very good chance at that.
So if like Paul said, when we did this at the 4-week, I would have agreed with you wholeheartedly. But the last few weeks, he's playing well, but he's kind of cooled off.
Well,
You know, he's still playing well. There's no doubt about it. But I think he kind of dropped out of the MVP thing, at least over the last 4 weeks. These
Or at
next 8
halftime,
weeks, he
though.
can
I think he could.
he can
definitely-
rev back up. Absolutely.
And that's what the Chiefs are going to need if they want to get back out of
absolutely.
this little funk they're in.
Paul?
Alex Smith. And I think if the season continues to play out the way it should, the way it does, looking like it's going to now, I don't really give two shits about what Carson Wentz does offensively. Alex Smith deserves to be the MVP. MVP is deemed, the most valuable person to your team. Don't get me wrong. Carson Wentz throwing all the touchdowns. But if Alex Smith goes the whole season and, throws the, 30 touchdowns he's on pace for and doesn't throw an interception, game over. You won your team every game they played.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many touchdowns you throw. If you don't throw an interception on the whole season as a starting quarterback, it's over. I mean, he's top 5 in touchdowns. He's second in yards. I think he's third in touchdowns. He's top 5 in 20-plus yard passes. He's right out of the top 5 in 40-yard passes. He's rushing the ball better than he ever has, and he hasn't thrown a pick.
That's huge.
How many games are lost on one possession?
No,
A
you're
season.
absolutely right.
And that's all it takes. So that's mine.
And he's got a ton of weapons around him, too, to help him.
Finally.
Yeah.
Everybody, remember thinking like, oh, Jeremy Macklin's the guy. Now,
I tell you, if he gets MVP, 49ers fans are just going to keep kicking themselves for letting him go.
yeah, well, they should.
They absolutely should.
And here's the thing. I know Colin Kaepernick was hot at the time, and he turned out to, for that year and like the year after that, was a very good quarterback for them. He fell off, had a real hard fall off, but at the end of the day, Alex Smith was playing great football going into that.
He was.
So with that, we're halfway through as well. Early Super Bowl predictions. Kendall, who do you got?
I'm sticking with New England, Dallas.
Think Dallas is going to
Gross.
muster it up, huh?
I think so. I think, Dak can, move the ball very well, and he's making good decisions.
What if Zeke serves his 6?
I think
Which he is right now.
That's going to be a huge hit, but I think Dak will step up, and in a division that will be dominated by the Eagles, I think Dallas will catch a hot wind and they'll ride in the wild card spot. And
Hot win.
A hot win.
I mean, sports has proven it. I mean, in that MLB, the Red Sox and Indians were like prime suspect fact of this. It's all about when you get hot. The Eagles are hot now.
Oh, absolutely.
So, if this hot streak continues to week 14 and fizzles out after that, they're looking at, first playoff game elimination possibly. So, it all depends. And you said, I mean, it's only week 8. Even if Zeke does do a 6-game suspension, if the Cowboys can muster 4-2, they get him back. That's a big up. We'll see what happens.
That's true.
Jeff?
I'm going with a game that just happened, and it was a great game. I'm saying Houston versus Seattle.
All right.
I think you got two very similar style offenses. I think right now Seattle might get the edge for defense with all the injuries with Houston. But, I mean, who knows? Towards the end of the year, guys might come back.
They also have the playoff experience as
Yeah.
a unit
Yeah,
for the most part.
but they also have made their blunders.
All right.
So, I mean, it would be fun. That's what I want to see.
would be fun.
It could be Houston's year in sports, just like it was Cleveland's.
Mhm.
86 Browns, obviously.
Mark, who you got?
Right now at the halfway mark, I say the Kansas City Chiefs and the New Orleans Saints.
Wow. That'd be a very good game.
Would be fun.
That would be fun. Do you have reasons, or that's just your gut?
I mean, the Eagles are the hot team right now, but very little playoff experience pretty much on that whole team. the Saints have Drew Brees. They've gotten in there. He's gotten it done before. And, he's played that extended season. And the Chiefs look like the best team in the AFC to me. I don't care what the Patriots
the last
do.
time we won 5 games in a row was actually the last season. I think it was 2013. We went to the playoffs. And we haven't been there since, so who knows?
All right. I do think Philadelphia's hot streak comes to an end, but I think they still find a way to weasel their way into the Super Bowl, and I think they lose to Kansas City.
That'd be really fun to watch.
Everything we said sounded like a pretty good game to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say that until Kansas City shuts out Philadelphia. 13-0.
Or shuts out New Orleans.
Yeah.
Andy Reid.
I almost would rather not make the Super Bowl than lose, because right now we're sitting at 1-0. Let's keep it that way,
No.
or win another.
So here's a fun one. I know we're running out of time, but I'd like to do this real quick. You can give quick reasons if you want to, but not for standings purposes. I mean, you can pick 2 teams that are playing really well. Obviously, that kind of bolsters into what the standings are, but what 2 teams would you really like to see go at it in the Super Bowl? What do you think would really make for a good game? So I loaded the question up, so I'll start it while you guys take a second to think.
Okay.
I've got Buffalo and the LA Rams. I think that would be a really good game. 2 offenses powered by big-name running backs that aren't really deep at receiver and don't really have quarterbacks that are making great plays, but defenses that are causing turnovers and offenses that aren't committing them. I think it'd be a really, really good defensive battle, and I think it could be one of the few Super Bowls, one of the few scoring Super Bowls in history. I think it'd be a real good bout.
I'd like to see Seattle and New England round 2. I think that'd be a great matchup. The storylines would be everywhere. It would just be a lot of fun to watch them duke it out again. Hopefully with a much different result.
Well, I mean, in that case, let's just say Oakland and New England. Give Marshawn Lynch that goal stand.
The Seattle Audible.
Jeff, who do you got?
I'd like to see Pittsburgh versus Seattle. I think that'd be a very, very well-fought game.
Young offense, Seattle young offense, old defense, working against a young defense with an old offense. That'd be good.
Well, that'd be interesting because, Seattle prides itself on the Legion of Boom. You know, that secondary, and the Steelers'
they got a lot
receiving
of
core is pretty.
You might as
pretty
well count
high-powered.
Bell as a receiver with the ability he has too.
It'd be fun to watch them go.
It'll be good too
head-to-head.
because it's not like they don't have linebackers that couldn't cover him. Kendall, who do you got?
I really like the idea of Kansas City and Philadelphia. 2 teams playing very well right now, and then Andy Reid facing his old team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. And Christmas colors.
Christmas.
Christmas a couple months late for all the bad children out
Christmas
there.
colors in the middle of February.
It's all those parents getting those income tax checks.
Oh man, so we're shaping up for a good second half. We're gonna have the end of the third quarter breakdown in a few weeks.
I'm telling you about how bad the Giants are still.
Yeah, shut up, Jeff.
Machine Washable, I believe you have something you'd like to say.
Yeah, we take a second. Quick word from our friends over at the Rusted Robot Podcast.
Hi, this is Admiral Adama.
My name's Robert J. Sawyer.
This is Cena Grace.
Hey, this is Stephen Amell.
Hey, this is Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek.
I'm hanging with Sean and Bridget. They're telling all about general geekery.
And you are listening to the Rusted
Robot
Podcast.
The #1 rated robot-related podcast
in Northern Ontario.
You should be following them on Twitter.
Keep listening.
Don't forget to follow them on Twitter.
Subscribe on iTunes.
TheRustedRobot.podbean.com.
The Rusted Robot Podcast. Think about it.
Rusted Robot.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Instagram at Getting Sports with Drunk. Twitter is GSWD_4.
Make sure to use the hashtag GSWD for all your daily uses, whether it's being named after an orange soda.
Won't happen.
Oh, it's going to happen. Or
voiding the contract.
Being a 49ers quarterback.
You can also subscribe to us on iTunes, find us on Podbean, or on the Leeb Sports Network every day from 7 to 8 a.m., and every Sunday from 12 to 1 on the PPRN radio network.
Excellent. Beer reviews. Jeff, lead us off. You picked them out. You started off.
Yeah, so I'm actually a really big fan of the Born yesterday. Definitely wanted to try the Pale Ale because I saw it. Says it right here. It's all about the hops. It was hoppy. I like hoppy. But it's a 7%. It went down like a 4%.
I'd like
Very
you guys to know
refreshing.
Jeff isn't wearing clothes anymore.
I'm wet.
Kendall, what do you think about your hound?
The Wheel Hound, this is a wheat ale. I don't know how many wheat ales I've ever had, but I don't know. I wasn't that impressed. It was very smooth, and I loved the can. But I'm sorry, Hound. I don't think I'm going to drink you again.
Sometimes the smaller hounds on top of the bottle are better, apparently.
Yep,
Putting it down.
So.
Mock?
The Ruination was good. It's different because, right now with IPAs, it's that juicy, citrusy style IPA.
Kyle just perked up at home when he heard the word juicy.
But I mean, it was good. I was looking for that citrus, but it's not there. But it's a good beer. I liked it.
The early riser from Boulevard. What a load of cock. Not very coffee. Bitter, but not coffee.
Gotta love a coffee porter that doesn't taste like coffee.
Yeah, it's personally my favorite form of coffee. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't bad.
That's why I really let you down then.
No, I would drink it again. I wouldn't buy it. And I'd like to point out, Kendall, this is the second show in a row where you've really been shitting on dogs. So
that's true.
I like dogs.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Sick son of a bitch.
Let's just start calling you Kenny the Hound Killer.
I like this can a lot.
Kenny the Hound.
God, I sound like a Disney villain.
You are.
I am.
The Fox and the Hound 3. Featuring Kenny the Hound Killer.
They never made a second, but this was the third.
They did make a second, so you can do a private stock now.
What?
Yeah, they made
there.
a second.
They made a second?
And you probably have the VHS somewhere in this house.
I have the original.
So yeah, make sure to tune in next week. We'll have a fun show for you guys.
Be sure to vote
on
Kenny's new nickname.
Yeah,
Be sure to vote.
Please vote.
Yeah, we'll put it on our
Kenny
Facebook page.
Sunkiss, baby.
We'll include some links on Instagram and Twitter so that you can find your way there.
We'll get it out there.
Remember, we recently have acquired stickers that have been stickers getting handed out, and so if you find a business card or a sticker, make sure to use the hashtag GSWD, add us, and as long as you add us, we'll see it. So
snap the photo.
We'll shout you guys out on our next show.
Stick that shit, yo.
So until next time, I'm your hostess Cupcake the Riddler.
I'm Mock.
I'm the man of many names.
and he's to be determined.
Yep, name pending.
And we will see you next week.
I'm not the man of many names.